From John's Gospel, John chapter 1, verses 43 to 46. I think the words will be on the screen. I've got my questions. You've got the questions. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." "Nazareth? Can anything good come from there?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see." Lord, bless these words to our hearts and minds and lives as we have the opportunity to hear if anything good can come from Nazareth. Amen. I've asked Suzanne to come and join me because she's just been on a little adventure. Suzanne, can anything good come from Nazareth? Tell us about where you've been and what's been going on.
The answer is yes. Yes. If you're not sure, yes. Am I on? Yeah. I'm on. Well, I've been to Nazareth. I've been in Nazareth about 8 or 9 days or so, and then 2 nights in Jerusalem, and home in the early hours of Monday morning. So I'm a bit dazed, and if I'm not speaking terribly coherently, because it's about time I've been back today. Yes.
So, what did you do? What did you get up to?
We had a couple of days in the beginning, but 2 of us had been before, Paul had been before, and I had been before. So we had a little bit of an advantage in terms of knowing something of the history of the hospital, knowing something of the people, having met people before, and having been shown around the hospital. But the other 2 hadn't, Penny and Nigel hadn't. So the first couple of days were spent orientating and reminding ourselves how you get into the hospital and how you discover on what level you're on and then where you need to go. Because the hospital's built on about 5 or 6 levels, and depending on where you go in on any one of those levels, and then you need to find the central lift shaft that gives you the board where all the levels of departments are, and then you can go, oh, okay, I'm on level 3, I need to go down to level 2. Just because it's complicated, because it's built on such a hill. We had a day out in Galilee. We had our day off before we began the work. And I'll come back to Galilee if I might, because that was, we had some special times there. But just to give you a flavour, we had to keep a note, well, I had to keep a notebook of our times and appointments, because we were teaching, we were preaching, we were praying, we were spending time with members of staff, with wards and departments, and it was packed in. So let me give you a flavour of Tuesday. Okay? Breakfast was at 7:15. We had to work backwards in order to know what time we've got to leave the house and then breakfast. So breakfast was at 7:15, and we left the house just after 8. And we met at 8:30 down in the village. And the village, not the village of Nazareth, but the Nazareth village, which is the 1st century village that is below the hospital and is run by the hospital and is a real mission opportunity. I forget how many people, hundreds of thousands of people, 100,000 people visit every year, and the numbers are going up. And when you do the Nazareth village, you tour part of Jesus' life, and you hear the parables come to life. You hear the story of the olive press. Gethsemane means olive press. I could preach a sermon here. But it makes the scriptures come alive. And so that's what we did. We met at 8:30 outside the lady who runs the Nazareth village to join them for their prayer meeting. We left there at 9 o'clock, I left there just before 9 because I had an appointment in the School of Nursing. We left 2 of our team behind who were going to pray with the director of the Nazareth village and then go round and pray with some of the village. Actually, Nigel and I prayed for somebody in the village before we left. And then at 10 o'clock we were in the School of Nursing. And while I was in the School of Nursing teaching the nurses, and Nigel was with me, Paul and Penny had 2 prayer appointments in that hour. And I spent an hour teaching the nurses, and my topic that I was given was the importance of forgiveness education in building resilience. Whew.
1 minute starting now.
I need my weevil. So, and of course, you prepare for an hour, but you can't teach an hour because I say a sentence, that sentence is translated. I say the next sentence, that sentence is translated. And on it goes. And so you can only say half as much as you want to say.
Bad luck.
Anyway, we got through that. And then from 11 o'clock, Paul and Penny were in outpatients praying with the departmental staff, and Nigel and I went to the medical ward at 11:30. We needed just to leave a little bit of room. At 12 o'clock, Paul and Penny went to the maintenance team, and Nigel and I had just a little bit of space because actually the medical ward couldn't give us very much time that day, so we had a bit of space. And then we all went for lunch. And then at 1 o'clock, 2 couples had ministry appointments with senior members of the team. And then for a couple of hours, Penny and I were in the chapel. And we did a drop-in. People could drop in for prayer, and they did. And while we were doing that, Paul and Nigel were praying with another member of the senior team. And then at 3:30, Nigel and I went to the psychiatric ward. And then we all met at the surgical orthopaedic ward, and then Nigel took some time out because he was speaking on Thursday at the healing service, so he needed a bit of space to get his head around what he was saying. And then at 5 o'clock we met to debrief the day. And when we met to debrief the day, we then planned the following day. And so all of the prayer appointments for the following day were then put in place. And then we were working out who was going to do which one and how it could all work out, and whether it needed to be a man and a lady or a man and a man, and on it went. Mm-hmm. And that was just one day.
So having just sung about the kingdom and may your kingdom come, in all of this busyness, can you see the kingdom of God coming? And
there were kingdom moments.
Kingdom moments.
There were kingdom moments. Some of you who've seen the blog may have heard some of this already, but there were some precious times when we talked with staff. They talked to us sometimes about personal things, sometimes it was about work-related things, sometimes it was faith-related matters and things that they had misunderstood about Father, and we were able to explain. Sometimes the language was a little tricky, but anyway, they spoke more English than we spoke Arabic, so that was a good start. But there were loads of lovely kingdom moments, but one of the lovely moments that I witnessed rather than was part of was we went to the dialysis unit, and a lot of people need dialysis in Nazareth. Diabetes is a huge problem there, and the dialysis ward has got something like 18 or 20 beds, which is huge for a dialysis unit if you know anything about that, and they have 3 shifts of people in a day. So that, the first lot come early, have dialysis for 4 or 5 hours, then they go, and the next lot come about 11 or 12 o'clock, and then they go, and then the next lot come. It's huge, and they need more beds. That's how big a problem it is. And the 4 of us went to the dialysis ward, and we had the lovely opportunity to pray with the staff, and then we went round the patients, and we had something to give the patients about the week of healing, forgiveness and well-being that we were part of, so that they knew that we weren't just dropping in out of nowhere. And then we would say, would you like us to pray? And very rarely did somebody go, most often it was, and so we would pray, and they may not have understood a word that was said, but they were blessed. And I watched Penny pray for this gentleman, elderly gentleman, who barely opened his eyes, and she said, "Can I pray?" And he nodded, and she prayed, and the tears ran down his face. It was so touching to watch. And she just continued to pray, and he continued to cry. I have no idea what was going on, but the Lord was really touching him. It was a treasure to watch, a real treasure. And that was just one moment. We had other moments where people would be so burdened with whatever was on their hearts and their minds, and we'd pray, and then we'd see them the next day, and it was a bit like they'd been on a healing weekend. You know how people go home on a Sunday? They looked so different.
You've lost your mic. Lost your mic.
In my excitement.
It's great. It's just so lovely. Isn't it lovely to hear? Yeah. Just we've been praying for this for months, and just being able to hear it, and to hear that loads of good things are going on in Nazareth. I mean, for you personally, our highlight of the week in Nazareth, before I ask you about Galilee.
Other than the food.
Other than the food. Was it Paul or Peter who spoke? It's not all about the food.
Did you have camel?
No, not camel. Hummus. Anyway, not about food. A highlight for me.
Did you need more time?
Sorry?
Did you need more time?
Time. Oh. We could have just kept going, and, well, I don't know if we had the stamina, but the need was there. I think a highlight for me, among many, was when one of the senior team said to me how, two things. One of the senior team said, when you come, not me personally, the team, when you come, you bring presence. And that's what you take around the wards and the departments and to staff. And of course, that's the presence of God. And one of the other senior teams said to me, the people in this hospital all care. They care for the patients, they care for the staff, they care for the volunteers that come. We are all caring, and we are all tired. And we have many people that come and do things for us. You know, people come and garden for us, and they come and volunteer in numerous ways. They come and be the characters in the village. But when you come, you care for us, and that is unique. And that was precious.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Very precious to hear.
Thank you. Just thank you, Lord, that we have the relationship and we're able to do that. It's just such a rich thing. So tell us, what was Galilee? What was the Galilee thing?
The Galilee thing was we were taken by Frank. Frank is the spiritual director there, and he gave us a personal tour, not of the whole Galilee, but of a little bit. And because we were just a little group, we were able to go to places that the big tour groups can't go to. These are things that are off the tourist trail, if you like. And the first thing we did, we'd come out of, what's it called? The Primacy of Peter. Something Christi.
Mensa Christi.
Mensa Christi. We'd come out of there, and we don't tell anybody, but we'd stolen pebbles off the beach.
I do that all the time.
We did confess in Nazareth that that's where the pebbles had come from, but we needed to use them in the healing service, and it was right that they kind of were local stone, you know. But so we left our pebbles at the bottom of a little staircase, and Frank took us. We walked down the road and up this little staircase. And at the top of this staircase, it was a bit of a cliff, really. Not a cliff like we'd come down last year, but a gentler cliff. And at the top was this little grotto, tiny little grotto, a cave, really. And there was an old olive tree that kind of came up through the centre of the cave. And when you stood with your back to the cave and looked out, you had this amazing view of Galilee. just awesome. And Frank said that the likelihood is that that was where Jesus retreated to pray, because it was on the route that he would have walked from Nazareth to Capernaum, and Capernaum was just down the road, and he would have come over the hill, and that would have been on the path that would then go on down to Capernaum. And there are a couple of little benches in that little cave now so that you can sit. But there was something special, really special about that place. And we sat there for quite a long time and we prayed there. And then we walked on up above the cave and we came to a hillside. And if we'd have continued on and on and on up, we would have come to the Church of the Beatitudes. But where we stopped was a natural amphitheatre. And obviously it's overgrown and, you know, the soil's built up and all the rest of it now. But Frank said that we didn't do it, we didn't have time to do it, but Frank said that he'd taken a group there and they'd had one person stand at the bottom of the hill and they'd had the group disperse up the hill and they could talk in a normal voice like I'm talking and everybody could hear it. And that probably is where the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount, was given. So it was really, they were really special things. Not that you're going to get there on a tourist bus, but when you're with somebody who knows the land and knows the gospel and who can put it together, it was lovely.
I'm sure it was. Thanks, Suzanne. I know there are many folk here, and probably many folk who are going to watch this on YouTube, who really care for Israel, care for Jerusalem and Nazareth. What would you, having just come back, what would you ask us to pray? What do you think their prayer request would be at this time?
Nazareth first. Pray for the hospital and its staff and those who run it, because the hospital is run on a Christian, it's a Christian hospital in a predominantly Muslim area, and they have at the moment predominantly Muslim staff. And the leadership really want to, as they said it last year, they want to see Jesus put back on the notice board. And pray for that for them, because it is a battle. And pray for provision for them. And I won't go beyond that, but provision in a multiple of ways, because they really need the Lord's sustaining. So that would be the prayer for Nazareth. And they've had some amazing awards. While we were there, they were told that they had the best neonatal unit in the country. And we were shown round by a Muslim lady who could not bless us enough. We had the chance to pray for these little babies, these little 34-week babies with black hair. Look at their hair. I said, oh, why don't your babies have black hair? No. Our babies are usually blonde and blue-eyed, not black-haired and brown-eyed. Beautiful. So that was touching. So pray for them, because they do an amazing job in difficult circumstances. And Jerusalem, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray that there would be peace within its walls, because there was peace there on the 2 days that we were there,